I'd like to call this board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard.
Here.
Ms. Nazario.
Here.
Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Sturgill here. Mr. Williams.
Here.
Pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I need a motion to suspend the rules so we can go into executive session to cover employment and conference with our attorneys.
Motion, as stated.
Second.
Pending or threatened litigation.
And pending litigation, that was the attorney part, but for pending litigation. Roll call?
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill, yes.
We'll be back. We won't be very long at all.
Inspiring city and campus. Inspiring people. Inspiring creativity. Inspiring hands-on learning. Inspiring global experiences. Inspiring traditions. Be a Buckeye. Inspire.
Every year, the Salvation Army serves nearly 30 million people in need. That's one person every second. So by the time you've finished watching this, 30 more lives will have been changed for good. All thanks to your donations.
Thank you.
Need a motion to come out of executive?
Motion to come out of executive session.
Support?
Second. Sorry.
Roll call?
Who was the second?
Me.
Okay. So, one second. Okay, Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill, yes.
Have a first hearing of the public, please. And right before you speak, I'm going to do my recognition of visitors, even though they've been here enough.
Okay.
Everybody knows they're part of the family. But all right, come on back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jay Pickering. I'm the president of the Lorain Education Association and represent the teachers here in Lorain. And I wanted to let you guys know the good news about teacher attendance this year. I think you all know that I had an ongoing dispute with the CEO last year about teacher attendance. And I read in the Morning Journal that he had a community forum last Saturday on October 5th. And at the forum, he talked about teacher attendance. And I'll just quote what he had here in the newspaper. It said, what I have found out is that we have 200 more teacher absences this time this year than we did last year. We have 340 teacher absences this year already. It's on October 5th. We don't have enough substitute teachers across the county, let alone across the city, to cover all of our classrooms. So when I first saw that, I thought, well, 340. But then when you analyze this, that's a 98.2% attendance rate for teachers. We had 39 work days up till October 4th. So when you divide 340 by 39, that means there's 8.7 teachers on average absent every day out of 478 teachers. In other words, 469 or 470 teachers are here every day working. That's a really good number. Now, once again, it is his numbers, and we had a dispute last year, but I like his numbers right now. 98.2% is awesome. And if, in fact, that's 200 teachers worse than last year at this time, we must have been at 99.2% attendance. So, according to the information here, although, yeah, it's good news, teachers are here a lot. And although I will say, as I read this article, I don't think his purpose was to say that teachers have good attendance. but I don't think he did the math when he said the numbers. So, good news, teachers are attending well. We don't have an attendance issue this time, at least at this point.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hello, Barbie Washington, Riverside Drive. I would like to thank all of the safety staff, the Lorain Police Department, the staff at the high school for making sure all of our kids and our staff was safe on Thursday. I hope that there's ongoing conversation with our parents to let us know what happens during these lockdowns. I do appreciate that the district released a statement, but there's just so much going on that it would really be, I think, beneficial. You know, there's just questions, a lack of maybe connection, and I think that would help build upon that going forward. My other question or concern is the new website. If you go to Google, you can't get to the links that you're used to going to. I did write an email and received a response right away, which I do appreciate. My concern is every time that I have emailed Mr. Hardy lately, I get a response back that he wants to just target, my child. He only wants me to care about my kid. And while I am concerned about the lack of communication at the high school, I did have a conversation with Mr. Larson, and I do believe we're going to see improvement there. And we will have a parent meeting on November 5th at 10 o'clock and at 6 o'clock to try to reach, more parents. So I appreciate that. But we are not seeing communication from the district. And I think that needs to improve. Parent engagement is down. Parents are concerned with the lack of communication, and taking it away from the district. The district has 8,000 likes on the district page. We should be using that to, let parents know there's walk to schools, there's conferences, there's no school, and we're not. So we're not doing a good job. I would appreciate if you can encourage that we do better.
We'll encourage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me add something.
I see.
Bambi Dillon. I'd like to back up with what Barbie said about Thursday. I had to come and meet her at Lorain High to give her some material, and I was very impressed about how orderly everything went. And I was here when the students were coming out, and they were very orderly, very respectful, and they looked like there was concern on their faces. So I was very impressed with our students on how they handled the whole situation also. And then on another subject, issue 13 is our levy. It's a renewal, no new taxes, and we had our meeting last week and the week before. We're having one Tuesday here at 4 o'clock in the Media Center. We have our signs, which Bill Sturgill has signs, so if anybody wants yard signs, they're to see Bill Sturgill. I have material that can be passed out when you give talks and speak to the groups and that, and we have stickers. Paul has some stickers with him. I have them in my car, so if anybody wants issue 13 stickers. And I talked with the Journal today, and they said that they do take letters to the editor in support of all issues, and it's just that they don't do individual candidates. So, and I talked to Carissa, and she said the same thing, send letters to the editor. So I hope that people would send positive letters, saying that it's important that the levy passes, because I think we all realize that Mr. Hardy probably will not be here, for too much longer, I would hope, if at the latest June. And then 6.5 years after that, you all have to deal with the finances. So, you would have to deal with the loss of $21.3 million, not him. And so it would only hurt our students and our school district. So I would hope that everybody would kind of be positive about all that. Thank you.
And if I could, I would add to what you just said. I think the CHIP meeting is on tomorrow, and I think we're going to have, I'm sorry, on Wednesday?
Wednesday.
On Wednesday, I apologize. And we're going to have someone there talking about the levy.
Mr. Arredondo will be there speaking about the levy, but would want the whole school board there.
Yes, and we've all agreed to be
Right,
there.
and then he was going to speak about the school levy.
And I think they've asked that we bring some of those tag-along, some of those talking points and things. They've asked
Yeah.
for like 50 copies possibly.
I have them in the
Okay.
car, so you guys can have.
Yeah, if we can make sure we
We
have
have
those and some
those
signs,
also,
that would be
yeah.
great. Thank you for all you're doing. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Just to clarify that figure, it's 21.7 million.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I know, whatever. Somebody's
a
writing
lot of
this.
money, like you
Somebody's
say.
writing this.
And I will say, while you're getting those papers, it is very important that the community supports this levy. We really, really need your support. Our kids need you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else from the public? Hearing none, seeing none?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I would like to say that I really appreciated the Lorain Police Department during the lockdown. I think it was the way they handled it so professionally. They were so calm that our students then did not react except what they saw, and they saw the calmness and the professionalism of the police department. I tried something on them and it did not work, and I was so pleased about that. I showed them my ID, like that was going to get me a pass into the building, and I showed them my little professional card, and the policeman cracked the door and said, "We're on lockdown, you may not come in." He was very pleasant. He gave me a smile. He shut the door. And I turned around and I said to all the parents right there, I said, "Do you see how safe our children are, that the police are taking this very seriously?" They were standing 2 or 3 in the door to make sure. They were outside. So I walked around the back of the building, and there are half a dozen police out there. And the students, when they came out, they were very orderly because the policemen acted that way. I tried to get into the central office building, and they said no. They said, "We see you, Mrs. Johnson." And no, it's a lockdown. And so I said, "Do you have any words for me to give that's a standard statement that I can give to the parents or the students that you would like to me to say?" And they said, "No, I'm sure you can handle that." And so that's exactly what I did. And the students gave me a lot of information, how they felt, talked to a lot of the parents, and they were upset at first, but when they saw how the policemen were acting, and they saw that the students were not as upset as they could have been, it was just nice to see the cooperation between the police department and the Board of Education. Thank you.
And I'll just add, and I'm not sure if this is during hearing of the public, but we did lose a teacher since the last time we were meeting. We had a teacher that passed away, Mrs. Carmen Gallo from Hawthorne. She'd been with us since 2000, and she had 3 very beautiful young boys that we're really going to miss her, and we're sorry for her loss, and it was totally sudden, and we just want to keep prayers for her family. And thank you all that participated and went and called and gave cards and all those things. Thank you very much for that family. We're going to move on to the approval of the minutes from the September 24th meeting. Need a motion?
Approved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Nazario?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill, yes.
Minutes approved. Is there anything in old business? Nothing. Report and recommendations of the CEO, report and recommendations. Any board members, committee reports? None?
I do have a question,
Yes, sir.
and it's actually related to the lockdown. What actually, I don't know if there's any official word or anything, but I had people calling me, and they had heard A, B, C. Usually there's about 4 stories that are all incorrect.
All of them were incorrect from the ones that I got.
So what exactly, can anybody give clarity? Because a lot of folks watching are still wondering. I'm getting questions today, so what exactly was it what was reported? What was it? I've heard bomb scare, I've heard report of a threat, different things. I don't know.
I've got nothing official, so I don't want to mislead. I was here, but I got nothing official. But I heard rumors of finding things and that weren't true.
No guns
But
found.
you were actually in the building, so could you give us, Mr. Cothran, a little bit of update for what
And
it
you
is?
guys had a debriefing also, correct?
In the debriefing, it was basically there were some threats made on a social media account against the building itself and directed specifically at Lorain High School. That was kind of the cause of concern. Sometimes there'll be generalities that are made with those types of things. It was specific to the building itself and also the students and teachers. So it was someone that had it seemed like some knowledge of the locality of the building in Lorain High itself. So I think that was kind of a major concern instead of just a general type of threat. From everything that I was told, there was no weapons or anything of that nature found. I know there's been some speculation, and that was not true from what I have been told by the people that have done the investigation, and it's still ongoing as far as trying to locate the person who put out the message on social media. And thankfully, some of our students actually stepped up and tried to communicate with that person, helping the police. So our kids did a nice job trying to assist law enforcement in apprehending and finding things out. So, it was a tough day for a lot of people. Even coming back today, some people had some concerns coming in, but the building was safe today. There was police officers walking through the hallways, driving around the building. So I felt personally safe. But I think the students, and my students and I have, none of them voiced any angst, but I know that some throughout the building had done so. But overall, I thought everybody handled themselves very professionally. As Ms. Johnson said, from the top down, I thought it was a strenuous time for a couple hours to be locked in the same room without movement, and some kids having to go to the bathroom, getting hungry. But it was a very, for the most part, I think, orderly and well done by the personnel in the building, both teaching staff, support staff, as well as the police department.
So one of the things that I know that came out of it is because I think the communication was discovered on Snapchat, I believe was the social media.
I believe so.
And one of the things that I was informed is that when you try to communicate with Snapchat, there's no phone number, so you have to communicate via a letter, an email, a snap. And there was a long period of time that we did not get a response from them, and we could not talk to a person. I'm talking law enforcement now. So they just said, we can't stay on lockdown for any much longer than that. So they just decided to let's dismiss the children. But the real catch is we've got to figure out how to get law enforcement in schools. When time can equal a big life situation when we can't communicate with those people to find out where it's coming from. So somehow we've got to get a better relationship with social media, at least at law enforcement level, so we can immediately start to ping phones and find out who own these accounts that are making these threats. So we can't fix that here, but maybe we can level up a bit and really, really go to our legislatures and get them to push at least for some emergency numbers to talk with.
I think they're waiting for some subpoenas to come
They still are,
through.
yes.
For
But in the middle of it, if you
right.
know who it's coming from, you can start to
And
kind
I
of
think some
close in.
social media accounts are easily accessible and others
Right.
are not,
More
so
difficult.
which makes it more difficult.
That is correct. So we've got to figure out a way to get there. That's that. So
Thank you.
as we go to new business, I'm going to ask our friends from our ADC, do you guys have anything that's going on over there in your world that's interesting? Always, right?
All I can say is that at this time, I would encourage everyone to get behind Issue 13
Yes.
and support Lorain City Schools. And I know that there's been tons of questions asked, and there are things that are happening. There's just a lot of legalities that are being worked out and whatnot.
That we have no
Right.
control over one way or the other.
Yeah, we have no control over a lot of things that are happening, but I can say that everyone needs to get behind issue 13, and Bambi made a very good point. Don't make decisions based upon what you think may happen as far as way down the road, because things, I think, are going to be moving in a positive direction for this community. The idea that the ADC isn't doing anything is not true. There are things that are just happening. It's just sometimes the things that are happening aren't necessarily out for the public to see. Is that a good way to put it?
Sure.
Okay. So I don't know if I clarified that with
No,
you.
you
or-
made us all more confused.
Was that the legal? Was that a Attorney Riley answer?
That was it. That was very good. But thank you for that, Bate. I appreciate you guys coming, and it's really good working with you all.
I think another thing that can be said is that I don't think you should worry about if the money will be spent wisely. There is a need for it. I mean, there's things that if you're on a school board and you don't pass something like this, back when we did pass it the first time, I mean, we were eliminating, we didn't have cheerleaders. We didn't, I mean, not that they, but I mean, the sports, the phys ed, the music program, I mean, everything equals programming. And if you don't have the money, programming gets cut, and we don't need that now, and we don't want it now. So, I mean, the bottom line is that we do need this. And we have no idea what's going to happen in the Cup-Patterson report. I mean, usually the biennial budget, by now we would ordinarily know what we were going to receive. We don't know that yet. That's still all up in the air. So we actually need this more than ever.
Thank you. And I encourage you all to send letters to the editors, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your organizations, your churches, and encourage them all to support this. We really need this to keep our teachers and all of our supplies and everything that go along with running our day-to-day operations. We need to keep this money. So thank you for that. Is there anything, and when I say teachers, I always say teachers, but I mean the entire support staff that makes our schools work properly. Is there anything from anyone else? So our next meeting is scheduled for the 28th of October at 5.
Did you already have the second hearing?
I thought I did that before, but let's have the second hearing. Be clear.
Pretend I'm up there.
So you can keep your seat. We'll hear you.
I just was wondering, did you start the search for a new treasurer?
So I had a meeting today. I guess I should have talked about that if you were there. I did have a meeting today. David Hardy and I met with the group that's going to be helping us with the search. And we've gotten an agreement. We all agreed on the terms on how things will flow. And as soon as that agreement is signed, they will go into action. So basically, it started today at 1:30.
So who has to sign the agreement?
David and I are both looking over the agreement, and we'll put it into motion here in the next couple days.
All right, thank you.
And we're working together on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very good question. So we said October 28th at 5 o'clock right here in this room. Is there anything else good for the order? Need a motion to dismiss? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Got a motion?
Support.
Roll call.
Mrs. Johnson,
Here, yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Ms. Nazario?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill, yes.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.